respect to everybody else's time. I'm gonna get started. Okay, so we're good?
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate everybody coming to learn about broker price opinions. Let me explain to you the importance and the value of broker price opinions. My goal is not just to teach you guys how to go out there and how to do BPOs and how to get BPOs. My goal today is really to teach you how to go out and become better at evaluating properties and better at determining a property's value. Okay? It's very, very important. Okay? You guys agree that short sales are going to continue to become a part of our everyday business? Yes or no? Yes. Is the REO inventory a little low? Yes, it is. Okay. So a lot of the properties out there are short sale properties. And what you guys may or may not know is that when someone is selling a property and they're short selling it, a BPO is ordered by the lender, right? So a neutral third party has to come out and they have to complete a broker's price opinion to determine whether or not the price that we are trying to sell the short sale at is within market value. Okay, are you guys aware of this? Who here has completed a BPO? Okay, so a few people have completed a BPO. Here's the thing. If an out-of-area agent goes to complete a BPO and prices a property too high, and you're doing a short sale listing, and they value it too high, significantly higher than what you're trying to sell it at, guess what happens to your short sale listing, short sale escrow? It's rejected. Okay? So as a courtesy to other agents, as a courtesy to people in our company, as a courtesy to the buyer and seller who are trying to short sale it, it's very, very important that we get good at determining the value of a property and learning how to make adjustments for differences in properties so that way we don't have any situations where we're deeming a property too high, deeming a property too low, because I can tell you that I've even received broker price opinions on some of my own short sale listings where I've had to go in there and I've essentially had to dispute the values. Okay? So understand that when you're a short sale listing agent and you're representing a short sale listing and the other person is going to complete a broker's price opinion on your listing, if you feel that they priced it too low or priced it too high based on what the bank has told you, you can obviously try to dispute it. But guess what? Is it challenging to try to dispute a bank? It is, right? So it's very important that we learn how to value properties correctly so that we don't do an injustice to the consumer out there or to our fellow agent. Can we all agree on that? Yes, okay. So that's why it's really important that we cover this. The second reason that I'm going to be talking about broker price opinions, and the second reason I want to make sure that we're all on point about how to do them, is because it can actually provide you with the secondary form of income. And there's some agents that are working on a part-time basis, and the average BPO pays what, guys?
Frank,
about $45. Okay. Now I got to tell you that there are some companies that are trying to push agents to complete them for $25, $30, $35 as well. All right. I'll tell you that I won't do it for anything less than $45 personally. Okay. Every once in a while, if it's a client or a company that really provides me with the large volume, we'll complete it for $35, maybe $40, but that's the lowest I think that we'll ever go. Okay. I mean, you have to ask yourself as a professional, what's your time really worth? Okay. So let's talk about number one, how we complete them. Can we hand those out, Leslie? Do you have? Are you working on stapling them? Okay. So the very first thing that we're going to talk about when it comes to getting a broker's price opinion. Okay. Number one, there's two types, right? There's an interior and there's an exterior BPO. Okay. The exterior is also known as a drive-by BPO. Okay, when we're talking about an exterior BPO, these are normally about $40 to $45 to complete, okay? And the truth is, all you're doing is you're driving past the property, you're taking 6 pictures, right? You're taking 2 from the front, 2 from the side, the street address, you need to take a street address, the house number, it could be a curbside, it can be a mailbox, it can be the front of the property, and then you need a street view as well, okay? So that's an exterior BPO, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna get 3 sold comparables, and 3 active comparables. Okay, so you want 3 sold comparables and you want 3 active comparables. Now, when you're looking for your sold comparables, okay, how far back should you go?
6 months.
3 months is good. How far back can you go? 6 months. Okay, I'm going to give you a little secret. The trick is you want to try to get as close as possible. So if you can keep the sales within 30 days, is 30 days more accurate than 3 months? Yes, if you can find sales within 2 weeks, use the sales that are within 2 weeks. You guys understanding that? But now here's what's going to happen. Every once in a while, you're going to get a property, okay? You're going to get a property that you can't really comp out. And what's going to happen is, it might have an oversized lot. It might have a double lot, right? Or it might be a property that is over-improved for the area. Has anybody ever seen a home that's over-improved for the area? Where you've got like a 5,000 square foot home where the average neighborhood average size is roughly about 1,300 square feet. Yes or no? Do things like this happen? Yes. So then when you get a scenario like that, I'm going to teach you guys how to overcome those challenges and how to still determine the value, okay? But I'll tell you that if you really have to, you can go as far back as a year to get a comparable. I don't know if you guys knew this or not. But if you're going to go back that far, there has to be a justifiable reason, okay? So you're going to need to explain why you're going back that far. But for now, let's just talk about a normal BPO, and you can go back as far as 6 months. I don't recommend going as far back as 6 months. When you're looking for comparables, I recommend going as far back as 3 months. If you can do it 2 months, 1 month, the closer you can to your present date, the better, okay? Active comparables. Now, let's talk about distance. If you're trying to get a comparable for a property, how far do you go for a single-family residence?
Up a mile.
Okay, you can go up to a mile, but the same rule applies. You want to try to get as close as possible to the property. Okay, now here's the other thing. It's very important that you guys understand this. Okay, when you're looking at maps, right? You've got a property that is on one side of the freeway. Okay, and again, the goal here is not only to make you better at valuing properties just for the sake of BPOs, but the goal here is to make you better at evaluating values so that you can help the average mom and pop who's selling the property so that you can teach them why and how you determine the value of their property. Can you guys understand this? So this is also for traditional real estate too, you guys. And I need to make this clear. You've got a freeway here. You've got your property here that you're selling, okay? Now, this is within a quarter mile, okay? Let's just say it's even within 2 blocks, but you've got one side of the freeway and you've got another side of the freeway, okay? Here's what I see happen. Often, people will use a comparable on the other side of the freeway to justify a value, okay? Banks don't like this, okay? If you are in a particular neighborhood, they want to make sure that you keep it within this particular neighborhood, okay? So what they don't really want us doing is they don't want us going on the other side of the freeway, all right? Is it true that in certain neighborhoods, if you go further north, the values are higher than if you go further south? Yes or no? Yes. So what that means is you want to try to make sure that you're valuing the properties, right, within their own neighborhood, and you want to find like properties within the same areas. Does that make sense? So even though you may have a property over here that's within a quarter mile, it may be even a couple of blocks, it's very tempting to just say, I'm just going to use that comparable, you know, and I'm going to use that value because it fits within what I feel the property is worth. But I'm going to recommend that you don't do that, and I'm going to recommend that you stay within a particular area. Okay, can we do that? Okay, so now, active comparables. I just handed out a sample BPO. Can I get one, Leslie? Can I get one? Okay. This is a sample BPO. What we're going to be doing is, okay, we're going to be dissecting this BPO. Okay? This was a very bad BPO. All right? And I'm going to be pointing out the mistakes that were done on this broker price opinion so we can avoid making those mistakes. Is that fair? Okay. So, I'll answer questions. Oh, you didn't get one? We have any more?
Leslie make some more.
Okay. You have another one? Okay, so let's look at the top. This is your standard Fannie Mae broker's price opinion. Okay? This is what the banks will use, all right, to go out there and determine a property's value. Okay, and again, I said this before, but completing BPOs does not necessarily guarantee that you are going to get REOs, you guys, okay? But I'll tell you one thing, if a bank sees your name popping up over and over and over again on these BPOs that are being submitted, do you think that they're gonna have a little bit more confidence in your ability? Yes, definitely. So here's the thing, if you get an REO, you have to be able to complete a good BPO, so it's good to know how to do them anyway, fair enough? Okay. So this is your standard Fannie Mae one. You see the loan number in the top left-hand corner. You see the REO number. Then it says this BPO is the initial, second opinion, updated, exterior, etc., etc. For the sake of this example, we're going to say that this is the very first one. Okay. Now, here's a question for you. Why would a bank, or why, other than short sales, why else are banks starting to request BPOs?
Market is changing so rapidly.
Why would a bank request a BPO other than a short sale?
Foreclosure.
Pending foreclosure. In other words, the bank is already starting to try to figure out what that asset is going to be worth should and if they are forced to foreclose on that consumer, you guys. Okay? So some of these BPOs, believe it or not, some of these BPOs are for people that are not necessarily short selling, but the bank is already preparing for that possibility, and so they want to know what the property's value is in their books currently. You guys aware of this? Okay. Now, I said this on Facebook as well, and I said this in an email. We cannot solicit, okay, business from people that we're supposed to be completing the BPOs on. Okay, you guys understand this? Okay? But I can tell you this, okay, that when I go out there, I also make note of the areas in the BPOs that I'm completing, okay? And I remember the markets and I remember all that stuff. So it's not bad if you're in that neighborhood and you go back and you canvass the neighborhood, or you leave door hangers in the neighborhood and you're working that neighborhood. Are you guys getting what I'm saying? Okay. I'm not saying that you have to specifically go and pinpoint that particular consumer that you're completing the BPO on, but if you're just in that neighborhood and you happen to be working in that neighborhood and you're marketing yourself and that consumer elects to contact you, could you potentially serve them as a client?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I'll tell you that there are times when if they send me out to go do a BPO for a particular client or a neighborhood in the area, as long as the property isn't listed, I'm going to do what Mike Ferry teaches, which is what? You talk to 10 neighbors across the street, you talk to 10 neighbors to the left, and you talk to 10 neighbors to the right. And you leave your door hangers. Are you guys understanding this? Okay. Could the consumer potentially go back out and reach out to you if they do decide that they need to short sell? Yes. Okay. So, I'm just sharing that with everyone. Now, let's go back to the BPO. Property address, okay, you got to make sure that you fill the property address out there on there. The sales representative, that's obviously going to be you. And the client name, in this case it was Fannie Mae. The firm name, Real Estate Heaven, completed by your name, okay? Now, your phone number and your fax number. General market conditions, let's talk about general market conditions right now. Okay, in the past, we got a little lazy, okay? Because on every BPO that we were completing for just a short period, we were saying that the market was declining. Okay, that was a normal answer. Okay, is the market declining right now, guys?
No.
It's not. So for anyone that's completing BPOs, okay, it's not declining. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The market has gotten pretty stable. In fact, in some markets, have the prices gone up? Yes, due to a shortage of inventory. So as far as general market conditions, under current market conditions, presently, I would not put that the market is decreasing. I would put that it's either stable or improving. Okay? Now, employment conditions, that's something else. Okay? Employment conditions, I would probably put stable or maybe even decreasing depending on the neighborhood. Okay? You're the area expert. You should know that area better than anybody else. But relatively, it's become pretty stable. Okay? Okay, market price for this property, you have the option to put decreased. You have the option to put increased. Okay? And you can fill out those percentages there, or you can just put that it's remained stable. I think a safe answer is probably just to put that it's remained stable for now. Okay? Now, estimated percentage of owners versus tenants in the neighborhood. Okay? Again, it really depends on the neighborhood. Are there some areas that are dominated by multifamily and apartment complexes? Yes. So is the ratio of tenant to owner going to be a little bit higher? Yes. If it's a neighborhood like San Marino where there is no multifamily in this neighborhood, what's it probably going to be? The ratio of owners to tenants is probably going to be very high. You guys understand that? So generally speaking, and this is general, it's probably going to be an 80-20, but it depends on the neighborhood, and you as the area expert are expected to know this. Okay, you guys with me? So now we're going down. There is a normal or an oversupply shortage of comparable listings in the neighborhood. Right now, what is our inventory level at? Shortage, right? We are currently at what we estimate to be a 2-month inventory on the MLS. What is a healthy market? 6 months. 6 months is a healthy market. That means that if we don't get any additional listings right now on the MLS, we will probably sell the entire inventory within 2 months. You guys understand that? Okay. Healthy market, 6 months. So right now, there is a shortage of comparable listings. Could this change? Yes. As the area expert, you're expected to know this. Okay. Now, approximate number of comparable units for sale in the neighborhood. How are you going to answer this question? So you go on the MLS, you do a search within a 1-mile radius, and you check to see how many active comparables in the 1-mile radius are there for sale. Okay? It could be 13, it could be 20, it just depends on the MLS, right? You're going to check that yourself. Number of competing listings in the neighborhood that are REO or corporate owned. Again, you're going to check that. Our MLS now provides us with the opportunity to do searches to check and see whether it's REO, corporate owned, or short sale, yes or no. Okay. Number of boarded up or blocked up homes. You know, area experts, you got to know this. When you're out there and you're taking the pictures of your subject property, right, that you were assigned to complete a BPO on, you're going to be in the area. You should know if there's any boarded up homes, any boarded up, any properties that are blighted to the community in that area. Okay. Now, subject marketability. We're on number 2 now. The range of values in the neighborhood is, how are you going to find the range of values in the neighborhood? MLS, guys, really quick. All I want to know is, I'm going to type in a particular zip code. Let's say it's 90029, and I'm going to see all the sold comparables in the last 30 days. Okay, just show me everything that's sold in this zip code in the last 30 days. I'm going to get the lowest house that's sold, and then I'm going to get the highest. And that's how I'm going to determine what the range of values in this neighborhood is. Okay? It's pretty simple. When you start to understand this, it's very, very simple, you guys. It's not that hard, but it's just that the whole form looks a little intimidating, yes or no? I'll tell you, the first time that I saw it, it looked a little intimidating to me, but it's very simple. All this is really just a CMA on steroids. Okay? Anybody here ever completed a CMA? Right, that's all this is. It's just a CMA with a little bit more information and you figuring out how to make adjustments for value. So, range of values in the neighborhood, 345 to 700,000. Okay. The subject property. You have the opportunity to now talk about the subject property. Is it an over improvement? Now, an over improvement is a diamond in the rough, right? It's a property that obviously stands out in that neighborhood and probably should not have been constructed or built in that neighborhood, right? That's an over improvement. Under improvement is a property that obviously needs a lot of repairs, or if it's a neighborhood that has, the majority of the homes there are 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms homes, right? And you got a 1-bedroom home, a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. Is that an under improvement for the neighborhood? Yes, it typically is. Appropriate improvement for the neighborhood is just the average home. Is the average type of home? Is it appropriate for the neighborhood? Right? Those are the options. Okay. Next line. Normal marketing time in this area is what, guys? And when I say area, we'll talk about the neighborhoods that you specialize in. About 60 days, right? Is that about right now, currently? Okay. Are all types of financing available for this property? Yes or no? Okay. Now, when we're completing BPOs, okay, it's very important that we talk about the financing, okay, or if it qualifies for all types of financing. If the property is in pristine condition, will it qualify for all types of financing? Yes. And again, you guys, I'm teaching you things here. This is the type of conversation that you're also going to have with mom and pops who are selling their properties. Okay. So, if the property needs extensive repairs, will it qualify for financing? Maybe yes, maybe no. Okay. Because it could also go, there's FHA 203K loans that you can do, right? So what would you recommend to the seller, or in this case to the bank if you're completing a BPO? If the property needs a lot of repairs, you're going to say that the property qualifies for FHA 203K financing, or what's the other alternative? All cash. Okay? All cash. Which means that your average buyer for this type of property is going to be an investor if it's an all cash transaction. Yes or no? Yes. Okay? So, are all types of financing available? And this is your chance to explain why you feel a certain type of financing is available or is not available. Okay? Let's talk a little bit about the MLS, okay, because this is important too. You're going to see me digress a little bit. But if you are representing a property, okay, and you've got a listing now, whether it be REO, traditional, short sale, and the property is in poor condition, okay, you cannot on the MLS put property does not qualify for FHA financing, you guys. Okay? It's very important that you don't put those type of remarks because of the fair housing laws. Okay? By doing that, what you're essentially doing is it could be misinterpreted as discriminating against certain people that are trying to pursue a certain type of financing. You guys with me on this? So, in your private remarks, not in the public remarks, but in the private remarks, when you're making comments to other agents so that they understand the type of property that you're representing, that's your opportunity to basically say, this property is in need of repairs, may not qualify for standard financing, please schedule an appointment to view. Okay? But in public, standard or FHA, I stay away from saying anything that has to do with FHA. I just tell them, look, it may not qualify, it needs a lot of repairs, please do your due diligence. Okay? Because you can run into a lot of hot water when you start talking about what financing is available and what financing isn't. And then the MLS boards will really get on our case as well. Okay? So, has this property been on the market in the last 12 months? Next line. Yes or no? Okay? If it has been on the market, you guys, okay? If it has been on the market, you need to fill it out, you need to put the MLS number, and you need to print a copy of the former MLS sheet. Okay? And it needs to be submitted to the bank. It looks very, very, very bad when you complete a BPO and you put that it hasn't been on the market, and then they manage to go do another MLS search and they find it on their own. Okay? So do a little bit of homework, check to see if the property was on the MLS, and make sure that you print it out and provide it to them. Okay? To the best of your knowledge, why did it not sell? Okay? So, I mean, if you take a look at it, you can probably figure out why. Number one, it may have been overpriced, or number two, you may have had a client that just decided to take it off the market. Okay? Now, unit type. We've got single family detached. Single family detached is what? SFR, your standard home, right? Okay. And again, some of this may be rudimentary to people in the room, but I got to tell you that when I first started, I didn't know the difference between a single family detached and a single family attached. What is a single family attached? It could be a PUD, right? Planned urban development. A PUD is where they look like townhouses, but they've got their little lots and they're all connected to each other. Okay? Condo, townhouse, co-op, modular, mobile home. Most of the BPOs that we're going to be completing are going to be for single family. Every once in a while, you're going to get multifamily as well. Okay? Multifamily. I'm not going to get into it too much, but let's talk about multifamily. When you complete a multifamily BPO, what's the radius that you can go out to for multifamily? And multifamily is 2 to 4 units, guys. Sometimes you do, yeah. Multifamily, 2 to 4 units. And actually, we use the same form. For 2 to 4 units, what's the radius that you can go on units? Ricky, I know you know. It's 3 miles. Okay, you can go as far as 3 miles. Okay? You can go as far as 3 miles for 2 to 4 units. Now, if you're doing 4 units or above, or 5 units or above, guys, again, I'm just teaching valuations here. If you're doing anything on 5 units or above, how do you find comps? I'm just throwing this out here. This isn't necessarily BPO 101, but this is just me getting you thinking. You've got 5 units now. How do you determine the value of something that's 5 units or more? Income. So when you're doing 5 units or more, you're not comparing apples to apples. At that point, you can start using 8 units. You can start using 10 units. You can start using 7 units. You don't have to just look for 5 units. Whereas with multifamily, if it's 3-unit structures, you can only use 3-unit structures, right? The minute it goes 5 units or more, it's all predicated on income. Okay, so all you need to know is the gross rents, the gross incomes, and the net incomes, and the cap rates, and the gross rent multipliers, and that's how you determine it for 5 units or more. That's a whole nother class, but I just want you guys to get the juices flowing. I want you guys to understand how it works, okay? So 2 to 4 units, you match them with the number of units that there are, okay? All right. HOAs, we're still in number 2, first page. If condo or other association fees exist, it talks about monthly, annually, current. Most HOA fees are monthly. Are they delinquent? You know, some banks really expect us to do the research on this, guys. So what you do is you go in there, you go into the MLS, you look for some prior sales in that exact complex, and you call up the former listing agent that may have sold a unit in that building, and just have a candid conversation with them and say, hey, can you help me out? I just need to know, what was the HOA? You just recently sold a condo in this building. Can you just tell me what the HOA was? What did it cover, et cetera, et cetera? Okay? Shouldn't take you more than 5-10 minutes. Okay, now, if you cannot locate any of the HOA information, okay, try to get it from your title company. If your title company cannot provide it to you, then you just put could not locate any HOA information on file. Okay. One of the other things that is permissible is every once in a while you can go back to the old MLS sheets for other units that were sold, and in there they have the older HOA dues that the other units were paying. Okay, just to give them an estimate.
Can't you call the association and get it?
You can, but they don't necessarily put the contact information for the association in the MLS. Okay, now we're going to talk about actually pricing and making adjustments. So let's take a look at. we're going to break it down into columns. If you go to the far left at competitive close sale, you're going to see our structure. Our structure is 1, 2, 3, 4 Mockingbird Lane. Isn't that where the Munsters live?
13.
Oh, it's 1313? 1, 2, 3, 4 Mockingbird. Okay. Now let's look at our structure right now. It's on the market for $529. Okay. Our structure sits. When you see where it says site, scroll down just a little bit, or you'll see where it says site. Site is the lot size. Okay. Now some BPOs vary, and what they'll do is instead of site, they'll put lot on them. But if you see the term site, what they're asking for is the lot size. Okay. Our structure is on an 8,500 square foot lot. We have a mountain view. It's a craftsman home, in average condition, built in 1964. Okay. Now where it says age, you can put the year. Some brokers, price opinions companies don't want to know the year, the actual year built. They want to know how old it is. Okay. Different companies have different requirements. Okay. The average company is going to just allow you to put the year in there. But some companies will say age, so they're going to want to know how old it is. So in this case, you would put what? 56 years? Right? No, more than that. 58 years. So you put 58 years. Okay? Condition is in average condition. 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. Now this kind of threw me for a loop at first. You see where it says total rooms? Okay? Ricky, when they say total rooms, they're referring to?
Bedroom, bathrooms, and plus kitchen and living room.
Exactly. Okay, so if we've got 4 bed, 2 bath, but there's 8 total rooms, that means that you've got 6 plus the kitchen plus the living room, maybe a diner. You guys understanding that? Okay, gross living area, GLA. Get used to that term. Gross living area is the square footage in the structure, 1,800 square foot. Basement and finished rooms below grade. Okay, below grade. We are in California. Okay, most of the times we don't have. I mean, you've heard the term of California basements, right? Okay, okay, those do exist here, but in the eastern states, they actually have permitted rooms below the grade, you guys. Okay, and those count as bedrooms and additional square feet. In our state, 90% of the time, okay, I'm going to venture to say 90% of the time, we're not going to have any basement and finished rooms below the grade. That is adding towards our square feet. Okay. If you're not sure, you can ask the owner, but chances are it's probably not going to be counted. Okay. If you're valuing it for a traditional mom and pop. Okay. For the bank, most of the time for us it's NA. Functional utility, again, is it an over improvement? NA. Heating and cooling. Okay. What types of heating and cooling are there? There's none. There's central. There's forced air. There's also potentially swamp cooler. I've seen that as well. Okay. In this case, it's central. Energy efficient items, right? And listen, if you're doing it from a drive-by, if you're just out there from the outside, you're probably not going to be able to tell if it's an energy efficient home. But if it has newer windows, right, and you see that it looks like the dual pane kind with fiberglass or vinyl siding, chances are those are probably energy efficient windows because most of the new windows are. Yes or no? Mm-hmm. Yes. So, and I would feel comfortable in saying yes. Okay, garage, carport, 2-car detached garage. Okay, it's very important that we look at the detached and attached. Okay, you guys want to make sure that you understand that. All right. So we have a 2-car detached garage. If it doesn't have a garage, you're going to make note of that. If it has a carport, you're going to make note of that. Okay. Parking is important, guys. Okay, that's also very important because let's say you're looking at a hillside property. I'm not talking about this one, but if you have a hillside property and parking is an issue, and it's a very narrow street, who here has seen properties that exist on very narrow streets where you can only park on one side? Yeah. Okay. Does that affect a buyer's or a consumer's decision to purchase the property? Yes or no? Yes. It does. So should that affect value? Yes, it does, especially if it only has 1-car garage. Do you guys understand that? Okay, so I'll teach you how to make adjustments a little bit later on. Porches, patio, NA didn't have any of that. If it has a pool, does a pool affect value? By all means. So we got to make note that it has a pool. Okay. So now we just analyzed. We took a look at our existing structure. Okay. You have just been assigned to complete an exterior BPO for 1234 Mockingbird Lane. Okay. Your job is to now go out there and you're going to go visit the property and you're going to take your exterior photos. Okay. How many photos are we taking? 6, right? 2 from the front, 2 from the side, house number, and 1 street view. Okay. And listen, you guys, I got to tell you, this is very important. Okay. I know that in today's day and age of technology, okay, it's really simple to take pictures with our phone. Okay. But you have to make sure that the pictures are good because what they don't want to see is they don't want to see fuzzy pictures. They don't want to see hazy pictures. Okay? They don't want to see people in the structure, in the pictures either. Okay? I got to tell you that there have been times where even I've had to complete BPOs, okay, where somebody's sitting on the front porch. Okay? They'll reject it for that. Okay? They'll reject it for that stuff. You're going to have to go back out and take some pictures. Okay? And it's a little frustrating. But when you go out there, you got to try to take it at the best angles you possibly can, so that there aren't any individuals in the view of the picture, right? And you got to make sure that the pictures are clear. I will tell you that I've seen images where people I can tell have not gotten out of their car to take pictures of the property. You know how I know? Because when they're taking the picture, you can see the rear view mirror in the bottom right-hand corner. Okay? The banks don't like that. And if you think you're going to get away with it, they'll reject the BPO and they'll put you on their do not use list. Okay? I'm telling you that right now. Okay? No one's perfect. We all make mistakes. But if you start taking shortcuts, they take it very, very seriously. And I'm only speaking from experience. Okay? Because there were times when even I'm pressed for time. I got to get going. I'll just pause right here and I'll take the picture from the car. It's a learning curve. I realize that. I'm just sharing with you so that you don't go out there and make the same mistakes that I've made, so that you don't have to go through some of the disciplinarian actions that I had to go through learning how to complete BPOs. Okay? So you take those pictures and listen, when you take them, try to take them at about a 800 to 600 DPI. Okay? Okay? Try to get them pretty clear, you guys. Don't and make sure. And if you have a digital camera, use a digital camera. For me, my phone is typically backup. Okay? It's backup for me. All right? Because you want it to come out crisp. You want it to come out clear. On top of that, you know what's a pet peeve of mine? Listen, let's talk about MLS again. When you take pictures for your listings and you use your phone, have you noticed how sometimes the glare affects the quality of the picture on your phone? And so what happens is you get more of the background than you actually do of the front of the actual property, and the front comes out all dark. Okay? When we're representing buyers and sellers, especially sellers, and we're putting their properties on the MLS, right? You know, you want to put your best foot forward. Yes. So can we all commit that if we're going to be doing that, to at least use a digital camera so that the pictures come out a little bit better than the ones that come out on the phone? Yes or no? Can I get you guys to commit to that, please, for the sake of our clients? Yeah. Okay, great. All right, cool. Now, let's talk about comparable number 1. Okay? Comparable number 1 is 5678 Hollow Court. Okay? The proximity to the subject property, okay, is 0.45 miles. All right? They want to know in terms of miles. Okay, so they don't want to know meets and bounds. They don't want to know feet. They don't want to know yards. It's miles, guys. How are you going to find the distance? Well, no. I mean, it's very, very simple if you want to know the distance. You go to Google Maps. Just go to Google Maps and map it out, and it'll tell you how far the distance is. Okay? Now, are there situations, right, especially if it's a hillside or hilly properties, where the subject property is here, and the comp is right here, but the only way to get to it is to go through all these hills to get to there, and before you know it, it turns into, instead of 0.25 miles, it turns into 1.3 miles because you got to navigate through all this highway just to get to the property. Are there situations like that? Mm-hmm. So when you map it out on Google Maps tell you that this house is really 1.5 miles away. Why? Because there's no direct route, but when you mapped it out using the MLS, it was really within a quarter mile. Are you guys understanding what I'm sharing with you? Could you see this possibility happening? Okay, how do you explain that? Or what would you do next? It's very simple. Next thing you do is you put comments, okay? And I'm going to show you later on, but you can put comments on there on the second page where you explain subject property and comparable and active comparable number 1 are within a 1/4 mile radius, but when mapped out, because there isn't a direct route, it came out to 1.3 miles. Okay? I'm going to tell you that even though you know it's within a quarter mile radius, that you still put 1.3 miles according to Google Maps. Okay? Now you know it's within a quarter mile, but when you mapped it out, it came out to 1.3. Still put the 1.3. You know why? It's better that you bring it to their attention versus them finding it out on their own and then bringing it to your attention and you not putting any comments on there. You guys understand that? Yeah. That's very important because if you're upfront about it and you explain how you determine this, number 1, are you more valuable to them?
Yes.
Yes. Number 2, can they tell that you're obviously a much more honest individual when you're working that way?
Yes.
Yes. So bring it to their attention, you guys. It's okay. Everything's okay as long as you bring it to their attention and you justify why you did something. You guys understand that? Okay. So distance, 0.45 miles. Okay. Sales price, $350,000. This one sold for $350,000. Okay. Now I got to ask you a question. Our subject property is on the market right now currently because it says sales price, so I guess it's active, right? And it's on the market for $520,000. Why would you go out there and look for and put a comparable of $350,000? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. Okay, I probably wouldn't. So we've already got a red flag right there. If I was reviewing this person's BPO, immediately that would send up a red flag for me. Okay? Especially because this person says in their first line that our subject property is in average condition, guys. If it's in average condition, then why are you bringing me a property that's for $350,000? So let's read on. Let's try to figure out why. Okay? Price per gross living area. Okay? That part is going to be blank, guys. You're going to have to fill that out. How do you determine the price per GLA? Right. So you just divide the sales price and the square footage, and that's how you get that. Okay? So we came out with $269.23 per square foot. Now, sale date. This property sold on November 16th, 2011. November 16th, 2011. Is that beyond 6 months?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it a good comparable?
No.
No, in my opinion, no, it's not. Number 1, it wasn't good because of the sales price already. Number 2, you're giving me a comparable that's 6 months old. Why? Okay. Next one, days on the market, 118. Okay. Looking at a comparable. And the comparable seems like it makes sense for your subject property, but you see days on the market, and you see a days on the market of 231 days, right? Could you use that one as a comparable? No. But it it sold within 3 months, but it was on the market for 231 days. So I have a comparable now, okay? It sold within the last 45 days, let's say 45 days, and it looks like a pretty good comparable versus my subject property, but it was on the market for 231 days. Can you use it as a comparable?
Yes.
You could. You could. You could use it as a comparable, okay? But if it was on the market for 231 days, what kind of sale do you think it was? It was probably a short sale, right? So you're going to want to make sure that you make notes about that. Because, again, red flag for me. If I'm reviewing this, I want to see why was it on the market for so long. And I don't want to just assume that it was a short sale. I want you to tell me that it was a short sale. So that see, really? They're going to look at this for about 10 to 15 minutes, and they're going to try to determine the value based on what you're guiding them through. Okay? This is like a map for them. Okay? So, days on the market in this case for comparable number 1 was 118 days. Okay, we're going to start making some adjustments now. I'm going to teach you how to make adjustments. Okay? So, values and adjustments. Sales or financing concessions. Okay? Comparable number 1. Okay? They paid $10,000 in closing costs. Okay? So when you make adjustments, you guys, four bed, 2 bath. Okay? And you got another house, 2 bed, 1 bath. Every bedroom, a good rule of thumb is we'll make adjustments for every bedroom at about $10,000 and for every bathroom at about $5,000. Okay? And you are going to adjust, you're going to add value to the properties that are lacking. And you're going to deduct value from the properties that have. Are you guys understanding this or no? So for instance, if this property is worth $100,000, okay, and it's the same square footage, okay, we're not going to make any adjustments for square footage right now. I'm just making adjustments for bedroom and bath count, just so you guys understand my logic, okay? This one's worth $100K, and it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, same square footage as this one, 2-bedroom, 1-bath. What would you adjust this value to in order to make the numbers vibe?
85,000.
It's almost like algebra now, right? Okay, what would you adjust it to? This has 2 more bedrooms, right?
One more bedroom.
So each bedroom's worth what?
10,000.
10,000. So you've got 20,000 more here, and you've got an extra bedroom, right? So we're talking about 10, 10, and 5 for 25. So if this was worth 100,000, in order to determine this value, where would you take 25 against that, and you're going to come up with a value of about what? You guys understanding that? Vice versa. Okay? Anybody have questions with this? I know this might be CMA Real Estate 101, but I want you guys to understand how we're doing this. Do you guys understand that? Okay, let's do it backwards now. We don't know the value of this one, but this one sold. This one sold for $210. Okay? So you're sitting with mom and pop now. Forget BPO. Mom and pop want to sell their house. And they know this comparable. It's right next door to them. And they know that this property sold for $210. And they say, well, if that one sold for $210, and our properties are almost in exact same condition, how much is mine worth?
235.
Right? 235. Because 10K, 10K, 5 for the bath, 25, and then we would add it to that because it has an additional 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. You guys understand this?
I just have a question. Is it a rule of thumb just based on the bedroom, or is it a square footage? Or does it matter?
We're not doing the square footage right now. We're assuming that they both have identical square footage. I'll teach you later how to adjust for square footage.
Or within the 15-20%.
See, and even if we're going to talk about that in a little bit too. But just for the sake of this example, I want you guys to understand how you adjust for bedroom and bathroom count. Who here didn't know this? And it's okay. I didn't know this before I started doing BPOs, you guys. I had no clue. Okay? And I used to think of myself as a really good real estate salesperson. And you know, I didn't even know that how to make these adjustments for regular real estate sales before I started doing BPOs and before I started really understanding this. So when you have mom and pop sitting at the kitchen table and they want to know how you came up with the value of about $235 on their property, right? Now you at least know how you can justify it and explain it, yes or no. You see what I mean? So the purpose, again, the purpose of this class wasn't necessarily just to cover BPOs, but to also make us better practitioners. And to be able to make us better at defending our arguments when we're talking to other people about values. You guys get that? Okay. So, now we're going to go back to the example. Okay. So where were we? So this property, they paid $10,000 in closing costs. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys. On the MLS, 90% of the time, you're not going to know if closing costs were paid for or not. Okay? It doesn't say it on the MLS typically. It's an option there, but you know what? Most agents won't go in there and click the little button that when they're, remember, as agents, we're supposed to go back when our listings close and we're supposed to enter the data. We're supposed to enter who the selling agent was. We're supposed to enter the type of financing it was. We're supposed to enter whether concessions were offered. Who here does that every time they close an escrow? Thank you, Mario. Okay, thank you, Ida. See, listen, when agents do that in the community, does it make our lives easier?
Yes.
Do all agents do it? No. So really, you guys, again, as a courtesy to your fellow practitioners, go in there and do it because it helps us all and it makes us all better. Okay? It's very important. Go in there, fill that part out on the MLS. What type of financing was it? Did it go all cash? Was it an FHA 203K? Right? Were concessions offered? Because that way, when you go back and you have to sit with mom and dad over, or mom and pop over the kitchen table, and you're telling them, hey, listen, in this market, under 500 or under 600, most sellers are offering concessions, but they don't want to give 3% back to the buyer, right, to cover their closing costs. But you have MLS sheets that clearly indicate, well, look, all three of these sales did. Does that support your argument? Yeah, documentation beats what? Conversation, right? And the only way to do that is to have those documented MLS sheets. So just make sure, you guys, I'm going to get off my soapbox about that topic. But when we go back to the MLS sheet to close out our sales, do it right. It helps us all out, okay? So, yeah.
What impact does it have on the property, the selling property, whether money came from?
And it doesn't necessarily affect the value. It just shows that concessions were offered. Okay, that's all. It just shows that they were offered. Okay, so, and you don't necessarily have to make adjustments for concessions, you guys, okay? I know in this example they did. They acknowledged that $10,000 was paid towards the closing costs, okay? If you want to make that adjustment, you're more than welcome to, okay? So we'd say minus $10,000. Why? Because really, did the seller get that extra $10,000? No, they didn't get that $10,000 because they contributed it to closing costs. So we'll deduct $10,000, okay? If you really want to be meticulous about this, deduct the $10,000 for the closing costs. If you can find out that they did. Okay, now what type of area? Okay, what type of areas are properties located in? Urban, suburban, and rural. Okay? Urban, guys. What's urban?
City. Metropolitan
City. Downtown city. New York City. Are we in urban here? What are we here?
Suburb.
Suburban. Okay? And rural. What's rural?
Ranches.
Palmdale. Valencia's iffy. Could we go either way in Valencia? But yeah, depending on where in Valencia. But you know, we have to determine that, you guys, right? Urban, suburban, rural. Okay, here's a rule of thumb. If it's urban, which means that it's like a very metropolitan area, like downtown LA, they don't want you going past a half a mile. For suburban, you can do a mile, and for rural, you can go as far as 3 miles to find compliments. Okay, so I just want you guys to know that. Now, let's talk about urban real quick. If it's a condo, which are the best comparables? Same building, you guys.
Same building.
Same building. Okay? it's very important that you understand that too when you're trying to sell a condo to other, or when you're trying to represent or get a listing for mom and pop. Okay, I'll tell you, I'd rather you go back 6 months but use a comparable in the same building versus giving me a comparable across the street in a different building that sold 30 days ago. Okay, because different buildings have different amenities, yes or no, right? You know, we just sold one in the Luma building downtown, which is 1 block away from the Staples Center. Okay, and I got to tell you that was a fantastic building, and I was able to find comparables as far as 6 months, you know, to justify to the bank. In my opinion, I told the bank that the property was worth $580. Okay, that was my BPO, right, Ricky? We said about $580.
Yeah.
Okay, bank came back and asked me to list that property at $524 because they decided to use. Remember, when a BPO is done, guys, and you're doing a BPO, you're not the only one doing it. You guys understand this, okay? They're ordering a couple different BPOs, and they're ordering an appraisal, and they're reviewing all the values to try to get an average, okay? So apparently, 2 other people, or maybe 1 other person, decided that the property was worth a little bit less than mine, or 2, it must have been 2 people. 2 people probably felt that the property was worth less than what I estimated at $580. Guess what the property ended up selling for? $584. Okay, so guess who looks good? Okay, so now here's the thing. I use comparables from the same building. Okay, it's very easy to use comparables in another building when you're looking at urban, right? Especially if you're going back 30 to 45 days. I'm going to say go as far back as 6 months, but try to keep them in the same building. Now, if you can't find any sales, well, how could it happen that you don't have any sales in a complex? It's possible, you guys. Okay, it's possible. Let's say you got a building they haven't had any sales in the last 6 months. That's when you can go and use other structures. Okay. Sorry, guys. Yeah.
I have a question. In townhouse complex units, is being sold 2 properties, and one was 160, and the other one asking price was 190, and it was sold for 220.
It was sold for 220.
Yeah,
Okay.
the same thing. 4 bedrooms, flats, same, almost at the entrance of the complex.
You know, right now there's things like that are happening because of the inventory levels being so low. So yes, my comparables might tell me that the property's worth 190, but because there aren't enough units for sale in a particular complex, I can see it going for 220. That doesn't sound unreal to me, just because of the low inventory level, especially if it's a very popular or highly sought after location. You know what I mean? Okay, so number 1, we talked a little bit about.
I'm fairly new, so I have a question. I'm going to have a listing on a condo. If there's a foreclosure and there's a sale, how does it affect the pricing of those units?
Currently, it doesn't necessarily affect the pricing of the unit currently. Okay, but I will tell you that if it does go into foreclosure, which could take 4 to 6 months down the line, then you're going to be able to use it as a comparable. But right now, it's not a sale and it's not actively on the market, so I wouldn't even take it into consideration. But if I'm getting the listing, for my mom and pop, and I'm helping them sell the property, I'd at least indicate to them that the property is in foreclosure, because that way they understand that, hey, look, there's other properties that are going to be coming up in the market in our complex anyway, just to keep them abreast of what's going on. But I don't think it's going to necessarily affect the value. Now, really quickly though, talking about condos, right? Okay, we all know that the majority of condos right now cannot qualify for FHA financing, yes or no? Okay. Here's another thing that's really important, especially when you're dealing with in the urban area and you're determining values, okay? If you're doing a BPO, there are many HOAs that are insolvent, okay? If the HOA is insolvent, you guys, which means what? What does that mean? That means that it's more than 50% of the HOA dues they don't have, okay? And that is really why most of these complexes aren't financeable with FHA financing. If you've got one and there's no, the HOA is insolvent, what kind of financing does it qualify for? Maybe conventional cash. Cash. It's probably going to go cash, okay? And that affects a lot of complexes. I've actually had complexes where the HOAs are self-managed, you guys. Okay, it's just a group of people that just get together and manage it themselves. Okay, and they have to set up, LLCs and bylaws and corporate paperwork. Okay, so it's very important that when you're dealing with condominiums, townhomes, and PUDs, okay, when you're dealing with them, that you find out a little bit about the HOA, especially in terms of its insolvency. Okay, PUDs. Let's talk about PUDs real quick. A PUD is not quite a townhome, but it's not quite a house. It's something like in between, right? Because it does have lots, you guys. Okay, my recommendation is you do not compare PUDs with SFRs, and you don't compare them with townhomes. You got to compare them with PUDs. You guys understand that? Okay? I've seen people that have turned in broker price opinions and CMAs to their clients, and they're comparing a PUD, and they're trying to compare it to a townhome. It's not a townhome. It's different. Okay? PUDs, they have lots. Even though they might be small, they still have lots, you guys. So in that situation, you may have to go as far out as a mile, maybe even 2 miles. You may have to go out as far as 6 months, 8 months to a year to find comparables. Okay? It's okay. What's the rule of thumb? Anytime you have to do anything that's out of the norm, the rule of thumb is just explain it and justify why you did what you did. Okay? All right, I'll tell you what. I've been talking for about 50 minutes. Why don't we take a real quick, like 5-minute break? Just a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll finish going over this BPO. Is that okay?
Yeah.
A few things that even I want to make sure that I cover that sometimes I forget. Okay. With single-family residence, when we're comparing apples to apples and orange to oranges, okay, do not use single-family homes and then compare them up against 2-story homes, guys. Okay? I know it sounds simple, but that's another thing. That's another mistake that I had made in the past. You don't want to do those things. Okay? If it's a single-story home, stick to single-story homes. And if it's 2-story homes, right, then you want to try to make it all 2-story homes, if you can. If you can't, 1, maybe 2 is okay, but you still want to try to compare like to like. Can we do that? Okay. All right. So we left off where? Comp number 1 we completed, right? And did you see the adjustments that were made? We talked about the adjustments. Okay. Let's go back. All we did was talk about the adjustments for the closing costs, and then I went into suburban and urban. Okay, leasehold or fee simple? Leasehold is just a lease. Fee simple is a sale. So this is a sale, so it would be fee. Okay. The site. Remember that our site, which is the lot size, our site is an 8,500 square foot lot. This structure, sales comparable number 1, has a 2,900 square foot lot. Are you starting to see why this one was priced a little bit lower than ours? Okay, at $350. So, again, why would this individual use this as a comparable? It's not a good comparable, right? 2,900 square foot lot is pretty small, yes or no? Especially if the house is a, how big a house is this? This one's a 2,000 square foot house, right? A 1,300 square foot house, okay. Okay, now view. Our structure doesn't have a view. The design and appeal, Craftsman, 2-door, you know, they'd like for you to know all the different types of styles, but it's not necessarily something that you have to memorize, okay? Quality of construction, our structure is average, this one is poor. Would you make adjustments for that? I probably would. I would adjust it between $5,000 to $10,000. No adjustments were made here. Age. This one's 1964, and ours is 1964. Subject, the comparable property is 1912. Would you make adjustments for that? Yeah. By all means. Okay. So I would probably adjust it $5,000 to $10,000. Let's adjust it because we're only $5,000 for the difference in age. Now, if we're looking at a huge discrepancy of like 50 years, then I'd probably adjust it. You probably shouldn't even use it as a comparable for that matter, but if we're going to make adjustments here, let's adjust it $5,000 just for the years. Okay. Condition, average and poor. This one's in poor condition, ours is in average. You're going to make adjustments? I would adjust it $10,000. Now remember, when you're making those adjustments, because this is the one that's lacking, you are doing what to make it comparable? You're adding. You guys understand that?
Yeah.
This one's in worse condition, so we're going to add $10,000 just to compensate for the repairs. Now, bedrooms and baths. We got 4 beds on our subject property, and this one has 2 beds. So we're going to adjust it by $20,000, right? We went over this already. Square footage, gross living area. Our subject property is 1,800 square feet, but this one is 1,300 square feet. Okay? Is this a good comparable to use? No. No, not at all. Can you make adjustments for square footage? You can. Okay. They taught us that you can adjust about $30 per square foot. Okay? But they don't recommend going that route unless you cannot find any additional comparables, you guys. In this market, you can find comparables. So I wouldn't even use this as a comp because it's too small. The general rule of thumb is you can go 15 to 20% up or down GLA. What does that mean? That means that if you're looking for comparables, you can go up as high as, if you need to, 20%. So in this case, 20% of 1,800 square feet. Our structure is 1,800 square feet. So if we did 20%, that means we can go as high as about 360, right? Which means we can go as high as 2,100 square foot structure to use as a comparable, or as low as about 1,500, right, to use as a comparable. Do you guys understand what I'm saying or no? Who here's lost? Anyone? Do I need to go over this again? Okay, so you can go 15 to 20% up and 15 to 20% down. Okay, so this one is beyond 1,500 square feet. Is it a good comp?
No.
It should not have been used. Okay, it just should not have been used. Now, basement, we're not going to talk about that. Functional utility, NA. Heating and cooling, there's no heating and cooling in the structure. They put NA. A new brand new heating and air cooling unit would cost how much? Let's say $4,000. Okay, adjust it $4,000. Energy efficient items, NA. 2-car attached versus 2-car detached. I'm not going to make any adjustments there. Porches, patios, NA. Ours doesn't have a pool, but no adjustment was made. Okay, I see these things happen on BPOs. What kind of adjustment should have been there for pool? 20,000 for pool. So you should have added 20,000. So really, by the time you were done making all these adjustments, right, the adjusted sales price would have probably come out to about $399, maybe like $410, maybe even $420 with the pool and all of the other things that we were talking about, guys. Okay, but you have to get a calculator and do the math. Okay, so that's comp number 1. Comparable sale number 2, 345 East Henderson Drive. Okay, one glaring error that I see immediately is what? Proximity to subject. 1.78. Now, going back to what I said earlier, remember that when you map it out, sometimes it comes out farther, right? But let's go to the second page. There were no notes at the bottom, no notes justifying why they kept that one as a comp, despite the fact that it said 1.78. Okay? So if you're going to use one, and you're going to keep it as a comparable, at least add notes explaining why. Can we do that?
Yes.
1.78, that's bad. Okay, and this is an REO, corporately owned sales price. Okay? Sales price, this one sold for $490. Okay? Cost per square foot, $233.33, normal. Sale date, April 3rd, 2012. Is that good time? It's good timing, right? It's within the last 6 months, pretty soon. Days on the market, 45. So far, everything sounds about right, right? Okay, now let's start looking down. Sales, financing concessions, nothing. Location, suburban, we're not going to make any adjustment. Leasehold fee, site, 7,000, right? Pretty good site. It's got about the same size lot. View, it has a cityscape. Design and appeal, it's a ranch property. Quality average, year built, kind of like ours. Condition average. Bedroom and bath count, 4 and 2. You make an adjustment?
Yes.
5,000 for the bathroom, right? We're going to add 5 for the bathroom that we're missing. Square footage, 2,100 square feet. Can we use it as a comp?
Yes.
Yeah, it's within the 15 to 20% mark. No problem, use it. Basement, NA, no problem. Functional utility, NA. Central air, no problem. Energy efficient, yeah. Garage, carport, all right, it's got a carport. Porches, NA. Ours doesn't have, this comparable sale number 2 doesn't have a pool. So we're going to adjust. We're going to add $20,000 for the pool that it's missing. So by the time you add up all the adjustments in the number, this property that sold for $490,000, when you make the adjustments in comparison to our property that is currently on the market, comes out to what? $515. Right? When you make the adjustments. Yeah.
So you need to tell me that so for $490, but in today's market, it would have been this price, right?
It's not necessarily in today's market. It's what you're doing is you're making adjustments so that you can compare an apple to an apple. And so this doesn't have a pool. This is missing a bathroom. And so when you take all that into account, and you want to compare it to our property, that's how we get 515. So now so based on just that adjustment, you're going to start to see that our list price for this property that's currently on the market isn't too far. You're going to start to understand that. Okay, let's look at comparable number 3. 9078 Minor Lane. 0.91. It's within a mile. It's not bad. Probably could have got something a little bit better, but not bad. Still within a mile. We'll take it. Sold for $539. $317 a square foot. It sold in February. Are we within 6 months? We're good. I mean, you could use it. Again, probably could have found something a little bit closer, and you probably could have found a more recent sale, but it's okay. Okay, you could still use it as a comp. Okay, days on the market, 90 days. There's no concessions, suburban, fee sale, site. Ours is 10,000 square feet. Is that okay? Our lot, 10,000, no problem. View, doesn't have a view. Craftsman home. Okay, now, when do you make an adjustment for a view, guys? Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. It has to be an absolutely miraculous view if I'm going to make an adjustment for it. Okay, it's got to be a good view. Well, I mean, if it's got a beach view, yeah. If it's got a beach view, then you better find other properties that have beach views. Okay? If we're talking Hollywood Hills and it's got a city view, then you better find a property that has that type of view. You know what I mean? You got to compare like to like, you guys. It's very, very important. Okay? I don't really like making adjustments for views. Okay, because it's just tough. It's like, remember, in real estate, it's all about what? Location, location, location. So really, if you have a property with a view, you got to try to find at least one comparable that is equivalent to that view, you guys. Yeah.
Recently, I read in the internet that one house that I was bought for $4.5 million, 4.5 million. They turned down the house and they paid that amount only for the view.
Yeah, very true. Awesome.
$4 million.
Happens. Stuff like that happens all the time, believe it or not. Happens all the time. Okay. View is very important. Okay. Where were we? No view. Craftsman home. Good condition. Age. This one's built in 1994. Okay. My first red flag on this one. It's built in 1994. You know, is construction different in 1994 versus 1964?
Yes.
Yeah, you better believe it. So this is a much newer property. I don't recommend using this type of property as a comparable when the age gap is that significant. But let's say that you can't find any other comps, and this was the only other one that you found within a mile that you were going to use. Okay, what do you do to protect yourself? Make notes in the back and explain why that you did that. Yeah.
What's the range for the
They'll allow us 20 up, 20 down for years. Anytime you go beyond 20 years up or 20 years down, then they start to get sticky. And again, these same rules and this same concepts, this applies to our mom and pop sellers too, guys. You know what I mean? That's why I'm sharing this with you, because, you know, again, short sales are a big part of our real estate inventory and real estate market right now. And every time they do a short sale, BPOs are ordered, which means that is going to provide us with opportunities to complete BPOs. Okay, but it also makes us better at valuing properties, you know, for our clients, for our existing clients. Okay, so built very, very, very new. Okay, I wouldn't use it as a comp. Condition, it's in good condition. Bedrooms and baths. So we're shy one bedroom. We're going to adjust it 10,000, right? Gross living area, 1,700, 1,800. Pretty good. Everything else looks about the same, right? Except for the garage. Doesn't have a garage or a carport. We'll take out $5,000 for that. But it does have a pool. Yeah, we add 10,000 because we're shy one bedroom. Right? We have 3 bedrooms and the other one has. Remember that when we're lacking, we add to make them equal.
Awesome. So if we're lacking a garage, shouldn't it be also added instead of taking?
Did it deduct? Okay, good. So that was a mistake too. They should have added it for a garage. You're right. Yeah. Yeah, that's if it's a 2-car garage, 10,000. So that was another thing that they did wrong on this BPO. Because, you know, if you have a 1-car garage versus a 2-car garage, you adjust it for 5,000. But this has no garage, so it actually should be a $10,000 adjustment. Okay, this also has a pool, so we didn't make an adjustment there. So by the time you're done, you adjust it. This one comes out to 544. Our price is listed at $529. Are we kind of in there? Making sense? Okay, let's go to the next page now. Marketing strategy. It's very important that when you're dealing with the property, you recognize whether you're going to sell that property as is or repaired. Okay? If you can tell that the property needs a little bit of repair just to get it up in value, it's okay to make those recommendations to the bank. If you feel that the repairs are so significant that it can only be a cash transaction, then you need to make note of that as well. Okay? In this case, they put sidewalk damage. Okay? That's an irrelevant repair. You're not going to put sidewalk damage. Okay? Don't put that. All right? Because most of the time, that's the city that takes care of that anyway. Next one is landscaping. Okay, landscaping, that's fair enough. If you're recommending that they do landscaping for $200 to make the property look nicer, okay, I'll take that. Exterior paint, about $3,000. They're saying it needs a little bit of paint for $3,000. Okay? Grand total for repairs, they come out with $5,000, but if you do the math, it's only $3,200. Right? Bad BPO, guys. Okay? Numbers have to jive. Okay? The numbers have to make sense. Okay? So you can make recommendations if you feel that it's going to yield a higher value for the property, but you have to make notes of them. Okay? Now, again, and if it's not going to be sold repaired, then you put as is, or you put minimal lender required repairs, or you say just fix it. Okay? Now let's start looking at the competitive listings. Okay, very important. Comparable number 1, 1981, Just a Beard Street. Who made these streets up? Just a beard. Okay. Proximity to subject 1.7, same thing, right? You want it within a mile, not a good comp for me. REO, list price, these are listings now, guys. We already went over the sales. List price $389. Price per square foot, price per GLA. The square footage is not filled in here. I'm assuming that's only because this particular form didn't allow them to do that, which is fine. Data and or verification sources. They want to know where you got your data. Okay? Yeah, we all know that you got it from the MLS, but go ahead and reference all the sources. MLS, Redfin, Zillow, etc., etc. Okay?
Is it okay
Okay, now let's start looking at the first, yeah.
Is it okay just to use one?
Yeah, you can just one. That's fine. Okay, sales financing or concessions. They're not talking about it on the first comp. Days on the market, it just hit the market. We're looking at just the beard. We're looking at days on the market, 3 days on the market. I'm not going to make any adjustments. Location, suburban. Leasehold, it's fee. Site, $4,500. Ours is 4,500 square foot lot, and ours is 8,500. Okay. Ricky, for that type of a lot, ours is almost double. Would you adjust it 10,000?
Yeah.
10,000? Okay. 10,000 lot size. View NA. Okay. Design and appeal. Ours is subject property is a craftsman home. Comparable number 1 is a mobile home. Okay, come on. Right? You're not going to use it. It shouldn't be there, but whatever. Quality of construction, fair. So we adjust it for 20,000. Age, 1964, 1953. Not a big adjustment. Average condition, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. Ours is 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. So we're going to adjust it what? Up 15,000, right? 10 for the bed, 5 for the bath. 1,900 square feet. And they made an adjustment for the square footage. Okay? I don't know why you would make an adjustment for the square footage when it's within the 20% GLA, so that's incorrect. Okay? Doesn't need to be there. All right? Basement and finished rooms below grade, NA. Functional utility, NA. Central heat, NA. Ours doesn't have any central. Excuse me, the subject property does, but this comparable doesn't, so you're going to adjust it what? Up 4, right? Energy efficient items, no. Garage, carport. This has a 1-car detached, right? Instead of a 2-car, so we add 5. And then pool. No pool, so we're going to up it 20. So if you look at the adjustments, now when you adjust this, do you see how the value jumped to 493,000, making all the adjustments? Okay, if you have to adjust a comparable, $104,000, can we agree that's not a good comparable?
Yes.
You should not have to make that much of an adjustment to properties in order to use them as a comparable. So this one was just a bad comparable. Just a beard was a bad comparable. Okay, all across the board. Let's say at active listing comparable number 2. 943 East Angelino, 0.25. Good, it's within a quarter mile, right? Good. Listing price, $499. Our sources, MLS, Redfin, Zillow. Sales or financing concessions, NA. It's been on the market for about 45 days. It's located in the suburban area. Fee, and we got a 12,000 square foot lot. Okay, now this lot is 4,000 square feet larger than ours. Okay, would you make an adjustment? You can make an adjustment, maybe like $5,000 if you want. Not necessarily double our lot, so 5,000 is okay. View, NA, design and appeal craftsman, quality is in average condition. Built in 1960, subject properties built in 1964, no problem. Condition average, we're good. 4 bedrooms, 1 bath. Subject properties, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. So we're going to up it $5,000 to compensate for the lack of a bathroom, right? 1,743 square feet versus subject property 18. Any adjustments? No, not necessary, right? NA, central heating and air, no adjustment there. Energy efficient items, yeah, 2-car garage. And we got a pool. So really, all we made was an adjustment for the bathroom of $5,000. Now this is valued at $504. Remember that ours was listed originally at $529. So our values, is our value kind of in sync?
Yes.
Yeah, you're starting to see that. Okay, it's becoming more apparent. Comparable number 3, 2914 Cochran Avenue, 0.81 miles. Again, still within a mile, it's good. If you can get it closer, get it closer. Listed for $524. This one's also an REO. MLS, Redfin, Zillow. 18 days on the market. Suburban. Lot size. Here we go. Okay, you see where it says site?
Yeah.
How big is our lot? Ours is 85, but this one, 27,000. Now I'm going to make an adjustment. Okay?
And that's $30.
No, $30 per square foot is only for the GLA, not for the lot. So we'll adjust it by 15,000. Okay. Craftsman, and it shouldn't be minus, yeah, it should be minus 15, right? You guys get that? Because that lot is bigger, so we're going to take away to make it comparable. 4 bedrooms, 2 bath, 2,100 square feet. Okay, it's still within the 20% GLA, guys. But this person decided to take away $10,000. Okay, you can do that. Okay, if you really want to be meticulous. But if you're going to be meticulous, then you got to be meticulous all across the board. You guys understand that? You can't pick and choose when you're going to make those type of adjustments. So they made the adjustments here, but they didn't make the adjustments in the other places. But honestly speaking, you could have made the adjustment. Now, how did they get the minus $10,000? Any ideas? Yeah, if you're looking at the square footage. Because we're saying that this one is, the comparable number 3 is 2,100 square feet, but our subject property is 1,800. And they took, right. So they averaged it out at about $30 a square foot. And so this, since this is 300 square feet larger, $30 times, it's about 9,000. So they adjusted for about $10,000. Okay, that's how they did that.
On the side, $50,000.
Right. So.
Is there an average, or is there really $50,000?
Okay, so here's the thing. There's times where people will try to use a comparable, like for instance, you're going to run into situations where I've had properties that sit on an acre, but I can't find any other properties that sit on an acre. Okay, that might happen. So what you want to try to do is you want to try to find the properties that have as large a lot as possible, and then Ricardo. So what's the general? Is he back there or no?
Sit down.
Took off. Okay. So the general rule of thumb is if I'm going to compare an acre, they'll allow me to make adjustments up to like $20,000 for the lot size, for that big of a lot size. Now, if we're talking 2, 3, 4 acres, then we start to run into challenges. Okay. But for the sake of this class just today, we're going to keep it really, really simple. If you guys have any challenges where you get a BPO that's assigned to you, and you do have a challenging BPO, feel free to come up to me or to come up to Ricky. Okay. So I'll tell you that Ricardo is actually, he's become one of he's one of the best BPO administrators we've ever had. He's very, very good at determining values.
He's
very,
alright.
very good.
He's alright.
Okay. And I remember when we started working with him fresh out of high school, we trained him how to do that. Okay. And not only residentially, but the young man can actually do commercial values as well. Right? We taught him how to do that as well. So, okay, so now you look at the adjustments. We adjusted for comparable active listing comparable number 3, minus 15, minus 10 for the square footage. Plus 20 for no pool comes out to minus 5. So our list price of 524 is adjusted to 519. The list price of our subject property is 529. So are we out of this world with the list price for that one? No. So now let's go down to the next price, the market value. Okay? Your market value, this is your opportunity to recommend what you feel the property should be listed for. We're recommending that this property be marketed at 509 and listed at 519. Currently it's listed for 529, so we're saying they should reduce it just a little bit based on the research that we discovered here. How do you guys feel about that? Look at the numbers and look at the adjustments that were made. How does it sound?
Well, I don't understand why if this lot is being larger than the other one without subject, why is minus?
What if their lot is larger?
No, the comparable number 3.
Okay, active comparable number 3 sits on a 27,000 square foot lot. Ours is on an 8,500 square foot lot. So because of that, to remember, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make all things equal. To make all things equal, we have to deduct the value, the extra value that this one has for that lot. That's why we took away 15,000. Remember the example I gave? Just like bedrooms and bath, right? Everybody with me on that?
But I'm looking the first one and the other one.
Well, this was a very bad BPO. Okay, so I'm giving this to everybody because I want them to see what a bad BPO looks like. Okay, because I think you can learn from like what to watch out for and what mistakes not to make. Okay.
So this is an active of 5, but yet the list price is 519. How does that happen? Is it listed, and how did that arrive at the price?
Well, this person just decided that it should be listed at 519, 509, based on all the adjustments and based on the values.
So
So,
this is a BPO factor.
well, because it might be on the market because it's already a short sale, right? It could already be on the market. And that's the other thing, you guys remember, that if you're doing a BPO, you could be doing a BPO on a property that's already on the market as well. Yeah.
You said that gross living area is about $30.
$30 a square foot. Yeah.
And then site, what is there a comparable as far as square foot adjustment?
Ricardo, when we're adjusting for lot size, what was the dollar amount that they told us that we could adjust for lot size? Do you remember?
30, I think.
No, that's GLA.
So GLA was 25. And
GLA was 25?
Yeah.
Okay, 25 to 30 is fine, but go ahead for the lot. What was the adjustment? Was it like $10? And you know, they've given me a rule of thumb is like $9 to $10 that I can adjust if you really want to come up with a math formula. So but see, you guys, it starts to get sticky when you're dealing with larger lot sizes and you want to make comparables. Okay, it's easier. And again, just because this is like the beginning class, when you get to a BPO where you've got a property that sits on like an acre or 2 acres, come see me or come see Ricky, and then I'll help you guys. I'll teach you how to make adjustments for that.
What if they have hillside property that's not really usable, all they have is just shrubbery? Is that even that kind of noise too?
It does, yeah, and it's important that you try to find property that's in similar condition as that on hillside, or at least one of the comparables. See, let's say, let me answer this question. Let's say you got a hillside property, right? And again, it's all about how well you can paint a picture and justify your value. So let's say we got a hillside property that sits on a hill, and we're looking for comparables, and this one sold for $8.99, and it's hillside, and all things equal, these two are identical, okay? And this hillside property sold for $8.99, okay? You can go out, and you're going to use this as a comparable. You can go out and you can use 2 other comparables that may not be hillside, okay, but they're in sync with the value. Okay? You can do that, all right? They would prefer that you find a second one that's similar, but if you can't, because look, it's not a perfect science, you guys. It isn't. But if you absolutely can't find 2 other properties that are hillside, then make sure that at least one of them is very, very comparable to yours and makes sense with the numbers and all the numbers jive. Do you guys understand that? Okay. So, I mean, and same thing goes for what I said earlier about two-story versus single-story. Let's say you got a two-story home, and it's the only one within like a mile. Okay, do what you can to at least find one two-story home that you can use as a reference that falls within those numbers. Okay.
What is the percentage on the lots? Is it the same thing for the 20% difference?
No, it's a little. I mean, you could still use that general rule of thumb. But like I said, it gets sticky when you start getting into the big lots. Then it starts getting. Yeah, average lots. Yeah, 15 to 20 is always safe.
I noticed here in this illustration, everything was in REO, using that comparative active listing.
No. Remember, on the active, 2 of them were REO. They were marked off. On the first, only 1 of them was REO.
Let's say you have a number of homes and one of them is the two-story and the other one's all one-story, but the two-story makes the most sense. Do you adjust because it's another story, or do you don't put that in the calculations?
They try not to. We don't really make adjustments for that, but they'd like to have at least 1 active and 1 sold that was a 2-story. So, and again, it's all about how well you documented what you did. If you have to go creep out a little bit, like to a mile and a 1.25 miles, it's all about how well you document it. Why did you do that? Why did you? They'll listen to your notes if you put the notes in there. It looks really bad when you don't make the comments about why you did something or why you made an adjustment or why you didn't make a comment about it.
In this area, you know, when you have San Gabriel versus San Marino as your address, how do you, isn't that true? There's a real adjustment in people's mind as far as the value just because of the address?
I'm glad that you brought that up. Huge. Okay, that talks about what I think what I referenced early in the morning about the freeway and about north and south, east and west, right? Or major streets. Okay? If you cannot, and again, that's why they expect us to be the area experts, you guys. You, as the area expert, should know that you can't compare a San Gabriel property to a San Marino property. You can't do it. You can't compare an El Sereno property to an Alhambra property, and yet some agents do that. Okay? You can't compare. Even though you might have the Los Angeles zip code, an El Sereno, and you just walk over and you're in South Pasadena, you can't use the South Pasadena comparables. Okay? And it's a tough sell. It's a tough sell not only to the bank sometimes, because what they do is they just collect data. That's all they do. And so they get data and there's people. So when you do a BPO and you get a BPO from someone that's not from the area and they start using comparables in areas where it shouldn't be, that's where it skews values. That's where short sales, fail. That's where people get foreclosed on. It's because of people doing poor BPOs. Okay? So, I mean, obviously, if you're comparing San Marino properties to San Gabriel, values are going to be much higher. And so you're going to say, I think this property is worth significantly more, and they priced it significantly lower, and the bank says, we reject your short sale, and then you've got a family that obviously faces foreclosure now. I mean, it's very important that we understand the ramifications of what, and the sad part is that they only pay $45 a BPO, but the truth is the impact and the ripples of what it does, it expands and extends far beyond that. As amazing as it sounds.
When you have a short sale and it comes back way overvalued, can you go back and dispute the price of the property, and can you BPO override?
Yes, you can ask to dispute it. In fact, you can ask for it. That doesn't mean they'll give it to you, though. But you can ask for it. Yes. But yeah, as the area experts, you guys, it's our job to know the difference between towns and cities and why we can use one as a company. Because in some towns, there's a particular little pocket of a town that, like, in that area, everything's worth over $1 million. But you jump over, like, what's another good area where it's like that? Like Beverly Glen, too. Beverly Glen over, or even Hancock Park. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Pasadena, one side of the road, well on the other side.
Right? All of a sudden, it's like the values are completely different. Yeah.
How about between, just an example, Arcadia, Temple City Schools, Arcadia, El Monte Schools, is there adjustment just for the schools?
No, you're not going to adjust necessarily for the schools. You're just going to adjust based on the comparables. And the thing is, in each of those areas, in each of those pockets, really the only time you run into those problems is when it's bordering cities. It's when it's bordering. When it's bordering, then or bordering neighborhoods. When it borders, then you run into that problem. But you probably would never be comparing an Arcadia property to an El Monte property.
But he's referring to, like, for example, Temple City. You're in Temple City. Part of Temple City is the Almighty schools, and that's where some of the business
Well, then you want to keep it within that area.
within
Yeah.
school district.
You want to try to keep it within that area. You can't really base it just on the school district, unfortunately, because they want it. I mean, you can make notes though. See, again, it's all about how well you defend your case. If you defend your case well, it's good. It'll show you as the area expert. And again, defending your case is the same way that we should be talking to our clients. Yes or no? This is how you talk to your client. Doing BPOs has made me much better at negotiating. It has made me much better at speaking to my clients from a stance of authority now. To where now I know the neighborhoods. I understand the neighborhoods. Whereas in the very beginning, or the early stages of my career prior to me doing BPOs, it was very lackadaisical and I would just go in and I just bring comps. And here's another thing. I'm going to answer your question right now, Noah. Who here gets comps from the title companies? Anybody? Okay. Here's the problem with getting comps from the title companies, you guys. The title companies are all recorded sales. They're recorded sales. Are foreclosures considered recorded sales? Yes. Anytime there's a change in ownership that's recorded with the county recorder, it's a recorded sale, even though it's just a bank taking the property back. So the comparables from the title companies don't differentiate between what's a real estate sales out in the active market versus a bank just taking a property back for $500,000 because that's what the person owed them. Do you guys understand that? So my recommendation is do not use and do not comp out properties based on county sales because they don't reflect that. Like that's one of the reasons that Zillow's values are skewed because Zillow relies on their information from county records, not from data that's extracted from the MLS. Did you guys know that? So here's what happens. What happens is you have mom and pop now. I'm changing hats now, going from REO and BPO to mom and pop. You have mom and pop that log into Zillow and they see that their property is worth considerably more than you think it's worth. Why? Because Bank of America just took that property back across the street. They think their house is worth $570 because our house is the same, or $600, right? But what they don't know is that Bank of America took it back for $600 for the loan, the legal fees, the attorney fees, the trustees fees, and all these other fees, and it wasn't a legitimate real estate transaction. Do you guys know that? That's what Zillow does. That's what county records are. Anytime it exchanges hands. Anytime. A foreclosure is an exchange of hands, and the county records it as a sale, even though it's not a sale. Good. So again, this is the reason I'm having this class. Yes, it started. It's BPO. That's initially what started the conversation, but I want us to understand how this is actually going to affect your business. And again, the benefit of doing the BPOs. No, did you have a question? What was your question?
Yeah. Has the way of getting BPOs changed? Are you going to go a little bit into?
Let's talk about that. Good. The last 15 minutes. Yeah. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to post a link a little bit later on. Write this down. It's bit.ly/REH-BPO companies. Plural. Give me till like the afternoon to do it.
Is it B-I-T?
REH-BPO. BPO companies, plural. Yeah, B-I-T. bit.ly/REH-BPO companies. Okay? Probably by about 2 or 3 o'clock it'll be up. And what it is it's a list. Okay? It's a list that I paid $100 for of BPO companies. Alright? Now here's the thing, you guys. Any BPO company that tries to charge you a fee to be able to do BPOs, run away from them. Okay? You don't have to pay to do BPOs. Okay? You don't have to do it. You don't have to pay to do REOs. Okay? Let me make that clear. Alright? There are a lot of companies out there who are trying to survive in this real estate market, including REO companies, right, that want to make money off of us as agents. Okay? That's just the reality of it. And they want to charge us subscriptions and they want to charge us fees. Look, I'm a capitalist. I believe in everybody trying to make their own money. I believe in entrepreneurship. But I'm going to tell you right now that I've never had to pay just to be able to go out and get my BPOs. Okay? There are plenty of ways to get the BPO. On here, I'm going to give you guys a list. Okay? The list did cost me money. Okay? You're going to have a list. You're going to go in there and you're going to register for those BPO companies. Okay? And you go in there and you register. You put your broker's information. Okay? Speak to your broker. Obviously, if we're your broker at Real Estate Heaven, you know, we'll explain how it works. What happens is the agents get paid their own BPO checks, but different brokers have different protocol. Okay, so in our office, we feel that the agents should get their own checks anyway. So we sign something stating that the agents get their own checks. And then you need the errors and omissions. You fill out the forms. You fill it out. Everything's all electronic, right? And then you submit all that information to them. And then here's what most agents do. Most agents do nothing after that. Okay? You fill it out, and they do nothing. What you need to do is you fill it out, and you follow up, and you call them, and you say, I'm interested in doing BPOs for the company. Okay, I'd like to help out. I'd like to do this. I want to work for you guys. And you call, and you call, and you prospect, and you follow up, and you stay on top of it. Okay? Don't just assume that because you filled out those forms that you're going to be able to get BPOs. Okay? It's going to take effort, just like anything in life. Okay? This isn't just going to fall on your lap. Okay? I want to make that clear. But I also want to make it clear that BPOs aren't going to go anywhere. As long as there's short sales, they're going to be doing BPOs. As long as notice of defaults are being filed, they're going to be doing BPOs. Okay? If the average BPO pays, let's just say $40, if you do 10 of these a week, how much are you making in the next week, right? $400 of additional income that you could use towards marketing, towards supplies, towards gas so that you can get to your listing presentations, right? Towards courses that you could be taking on a regular basis to improve yourself in this industry, yes or no? Yes. This is not designed so that you can go out there and necessarily get rich per se, but this is an additional stream of income. Every BPO is going to take you probably about 45 minutes, 30 minutes to complete. Okay? Just so you know, that's just the data entry part. Then you got to go take the pictures. Okay? Remember, because you need the pictures. Oh, you don't have to take pictures of the comparable properties, by the way. But when you complete the BPOs online, they will ask for pictures of the comps. You can just use the MLS pictures. Okay? Little known secret. When I got started, I didn't know any better, and I was taking pictures of the comparables. I was literally going to visit the subject property and all 6. And then every once in a while, they'd give me a BPO in Palmdale. So I drive all the way out to Palmdale, and I take pictures of the subject property and all my comps. And it got to the point where I didn't know any better, and I just kept doing this. And I'm like, man, I'm doing this for like $4 an hour. Right? I started doing the math with everything I was doing. You don't need to take pictures of the comparables, guys. Okay? Only take pictures of the subject properties. Okay? Occasionally you will get people coming out asking you why you're taking their pictures of the property, right? Just have your business card handy. Here's why I'm taking a picture of the property. You know, the bank is sent me out here to take pictures of it to complete a broker's price. That's all. All right. So yeah, I'll have this list up. You can go on there and then you can register for them and follow up. And, you know, and work hard so that you can go out there and complete them. Again, what this does is it provides an additional stream of income, but it allows you to be out in the field. And when you're out in the field and you're handing out your business card, does it increase the opportunities for you to get more real estate business? Yes. Yes. Right? And that's really why I want to share this with you. You know, because I feel like this should just be an additional thing that we can do while we're out on the field talking to people, handing out business cards. And if you do this right, you know you're going to take a picture of a property for BPO. You know, what I would do is the next thing is I'd go talk to all the neighbors, do some door hangers. I'm here in the neighborhood, just want to introduce myself, hand them a business card and move up. And then just do 10 left, 10 right, 10 across the street and go home. And make it productive. Okay, what happens is people they get dependent on BPOs, and before you know it, they're living off of $1,400 a month. You know, actually, I've seen some people that make considerably more. There's people that make $4,000 to $5,000 a month at BPO. You know, at one point, I was up to doing 300 BPOs a month, guys. 300 BPOs a month. Okay, so I got to tell you, like, the income can be pretty substantial, but the reason I'm sharing this with you is that number one, it's very mundane work. Okay, it can be very time consuming if you're not careful, and you turn into a glorified data entry person. Okay, I'm going to tell you that right now. Okay, so I'm sharing this with you so that you use this as a tool to go out there and continue building your real estate business versus using this as a crutch and then not going back out there and completing our real estate sales. Yeah.
Is there an average, say that you do 20 BPOs, what's an average for these? Is there such thing as an average? 30 BPOs,
Okay, so
one?
you can't really, there's certain companies, okay, for instance, U.S. Real Estate Services, okay? You guys might want to write this down. U.S. Res. U.S. Res does not pay you to complete BPOs. You complete the BPOs for free. But they do give you listings. And the more BPOs you complete for them, the more listings you get. So they're one example of a company that does that. Who else completes BPOs? Equity Point. Okay, you'll have that on the list. Equity Point is another company that assigns you BPOs, and then you get REOs. Okay, they are one, but you have to and they do pay, and they have the Fannie Mae account as well. They just picked it up. Equity Point, and it's point with the E at the end. But it'll be on this list anyway, so don't worry about it. Any other questions, you guys?
What would happen if you start doing BPOs from this company and you don't find these 6 pictures there that you need? You say one of the on the side, one of the and
if they don't have those pictures, it's considered incomplete and they reject it. The more rejections you have, the worse you look, and the less likely they'll use you later.
No, but I just said that copy the pictures from the emerald.
Oh, for the comparables.
Yes.
Okay.
And you need to go to the.
Honestly, if I have a comparable that doesn't have a picture, with this market, I'll just find another comparable to use. But yeah, you will run into that. Every once in a while, you'll get comparables on the MLS that you have to use. They don't have pictures of the property. Again, bad agent. Okay, because you need to put pictures. In fact, you get fined $500 a pop, you guys, if you're not putting that stuff in. So, yeah, if they don't have a picture, just find another comparable to use. Or if you're close enough and it's not too far a drive, go ahead and take a picture of the comparable yourself. You don't get any brownie points for it, though. I mean, I want to make it clear. Any other questions, you guys? You know, Louis, you want to say anything? Louis, by the way, is very humble, you guys. Louis was able to land a pretty big account back at the old company that we were a part of. When I first started in REO and BPO, I mean, at one point you were completing how many? How many BPOs do you think you were completing? Yeah, 700 BPOs. In a month. Yeah, I mean, listen, at that point, when you're talking that type of number, you've got a machine. It's almost like you can't do that all on your own. Okay, and that's advanced techniques. But again, just because the REO volume, okay, how long ago was it that you did those? It's been a while, right? 2 years ago. See, 2 years ago, the REO market was completely different than it is now. Okay, so I'm sharing that with you because to have a month like that, or the months that I used to have, you know, because there aren't as many foreclosures and as many REOs, and they're not ordering as many, those numbers probably, I don't know if we'll ever see those numbers again. But okay, so what? So you don't do 400 in a month, and you only do 10% of it, and you were able to complete 40. I mean, 40 in a month. Again, same thing. Was that additional income? If my math is off, I put 1,400. Yeah, it's 1,600. But you guys get my point. You know, it's just designed. This is designed to supplement and at the same time keep you out on the field working. Any other questions?
Oh, I had a question on the forms.
Yeah.
How do you? Is there a standard sheet that tells us how much to adjust on the adjustments? Like how do we know what the monetary figure it would be for a particular item here? You know what I mean? Like let's say on site, you would adjust.
You know what I could do? is I'll make a sheet and I'll add it onto this,
Yeah.
and I'll put all the adjustments that we normally.
Like how do
do,
like I didn't know like a swimming pool was
Sure.
20 grand.
Those
You know,
type
how
of
do we-
adjustments,
yeah.
I'll make an average type of adjustment sheet, and I'll make that the first page of this. Is that okay with everybody? So that way you guys kind of have like a cheat sheet to reference. In addition to that, I also put, and this is already up, if you go to bit.ly, then go to FAR, F-A-R, and it's not, it has to be underscore. I mean under lowercase. F-A-R-R-B, BPO manual. F-A-R-R-V, BPO manual. FARV stands for First American Residential Real Estate Value. BPO manual. F-A-R-R-B, all underscore, and that's up right now. I put that. It's a BPO manual that that we used to use that FARV provided us with. And it's how I learned how to complete BPO. Yeah, very, very, very good manual. And again, it just made me better at evaluating properties for my own clients. If there's no other questions, you guys, I appreciate everyone's time. Send me an email, okay? You guys send me an email because I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Because some of the companies that you're going to register for, they're going to ask for a BPO certification, okay? All right? And again, I'm not going to discount any of the companies that are out there that offer BPO certifications. I won't discount what they do. I won't discount their courses in the sense that I'm not gonna speak ill of them. But I will tell you that when I got started, none of those BPO certifications existed. Louis, do you have a BPO certification? No. Okay. Poof, you guys are all certified now. You can do BPO. Okay? And I'm only sharing this with you, again, because I believe in entrepreneurship, I believe in capitalism, but I also know that, you know, there are organizations out there that, you know, they do try to take advantage of the opportunities, and I see people in my industry, and a lot of times I see us throwing money at the wall in hopes of you know, getting ahead. And I'm telling you right now that for the organizations that require a BPO certification, just email me direct. We have our own BPO certification within the company. It's just as good. Okay? Go ahead and submit it. All right? Okay, so with that, and if you guys don't have my email, let me give it to you. It's Paul at rehcorp.com. Paul at rehcorp.com. Email me, and then make sure that you in there you specify exactly how you want your name spelled out for your real estate heaven BPO certification course. Okay? Cool. All right, guys. Thank you.
Stretch.